Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to The Raggedy Gamer. I'm your boy Santos, and I finally got to overclocking my 1700X build to 3.71 gigahertz. It's obviously not a very big overclock, but it should show you a minimalistic jump from the stock clock of 3.4. One thing I also did was I overclocked my memory from 2666 to 2734. Now if you want a reference from this benchmark to a stock benchmark, you can see it in my old video here. Also, one thing to notice is that I took out Heroes of the Storm and replaced it with Overwatch, and I added a CPU Z benchmark, which, as you know, tests multi-thread performance and single-thread performance. One last thing for you guys to notice is that this test, while all done at 3.71, it was done actually with SMT turned off, SMT turned off, SMT turned on, SMT turned off, and SMT on auto. For those of you who don't know, SMT is basically AMD's version of Intel's hyperthreading. So the tests should be interesting, and you can see them right now. Alright guys, well as you can see from the benchmarks here, if you look at the Cinebench R15, when it was SMT auto, SMT off, and SMT on, the SMT auto completely decimated the SMT off and on. However, what I couldn't explain was why the off and on were giving me the exact same score. It was actually off by 1 point, which could be, just dealt with the margin of error. I made sure that when it was off, it was actually off, and when it was on, it was actually on. I turned it off 3 times and turned it on 3 times just to make sure that I was getting the same exact readings, and there wasn't really any change between those two until I went to SMT Auto, and again, it gave me around the exact same scores, just a little bit over 1600. And it's not something that I can really explain. There's no real reason for it to be the same. The only thing I can think of is that when the rendering or when the work is needed, it will turn on as needed and turn it off when it's not needed. I guess if you have it off or on full, then it kind of starts to hurt the performance when it's not needed, and vice versa. Again, I sounded a little convoluted, I'm sorry, but this is really the best explanation that I can come up with. If you guys know any better explanation, please let me know. Now, if you guys look at the Blender image, it was rendering the Ryzen picture here, and you can see that SMT Auto destroys when SMT is off and SMT is on. The SMT off and SMT on scores were really around the same, really. One got in 34s, low 34s, and SMT on got high 33s within the margin of error again. However, SMT Auto, there's no error there. That is just when it needs it, it's on, and when it doesn't, it turns it off on its own. So that's the only thing I can think of that it's giving us these kind of performance numbers. So with that, we're going to move to Diablo 3. Now, there is really about the same as well. There are a few differences, which I think is a little bit more than just the margin of error. I did run these tests in the same locations 2 times each scenario, off, on, and auto. As you can see, the auto is actually still beating SMT off and SMT on. However, the SMT on is still beating the SMT off, so this is probably where it does make a little bit of a difference. If you look at Overwatch benchmark, obviously, as you can see, higher is better. the SMT on did a lot better than SMT off or auto. Looks like having it on the entire time did get it into the 160s, where off and on were the exact same. It was 144 or 145, I believe. There was no difference. So obviously having it on full time looks like it does render some performance gain there. Now, World of Warcraft was actually a little funny. Same situation as the Cinebench R15 and the Blender image, where if you had SMT off and SMT on, it gave you basically the exact same performance. SMT on had 1 or 2 more frame rates per second, but again, that can all just be dealt within the margin of error. However, when you had SMT auto, it was a little bit better. I would say a substantial amount better. It was in the 130s. Mid 130s, and the lowest part was about 115, 117. So it did gain some performance. Again, this goes back to what I think is when it needs it, it turns it on, and when it doesn't, it turns it off on its own accord. So basically, you're just letting the CPU decide, hey, I need this, or I don't need this anymore. Now, the last benchmark, which you're going to see, is the CPU-Z benchmark. Now, they basically scored the exact same no matter what I did. The CPU-Z with SMT on, off, or auto rendered no difference actually. However, in single core performance, though it was the exact same, I thought it was funny that it kept going back between 1 or 2 numbers. But again, it looks like SMT made no difference, or the status of SMT made no difference in this benchmark as well. Alright guys, so that's going to bring this video to a close here. And one thing that I wanted to make sure you guys got away from this video is that Ryzen is a very capable chip. It can be overclocked fairly easy, and it can handle a lot more than 3.7. So just so you guys know, if you wanted to see the difference in benchmark between the stock clock and this clock, you can see it here in my previous video. And another thing to take away from this is that the SMT problem that everyone's been having, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, and if I am, please let me know in the description or send me a message, comment. Anything would really help, because I'm getting very inconclusive data. It's consistent, but it's inconclusive because there's almost no difference between the off and on to me. If I'm honest. However, in auto, I was seeing that I was getting better performance. So again, I don't know if I'm lucky and got the up-to-date BIOS, or the chip isn't having the problem, or what the problem is, but I don't seem to have the problem that I hear other testers are getting. Something else to note here is that all of these benchmarks were done with no sleep mode activated. So none of the benchmarks were done after the computer came up from sleep mode or hibernation. There has been a problem reported about the clock speeds. Your CPU clock speeds and your benchmark performances are actually getting better scores after the computer comes up from sleep mode. So for instance, if you had a 4.0 clock speed, your computer would all of a sudden say it's 4.2 and be stable. It seems to be a timing issue while your computer is in sleep mode. I learned this from Linus Tech Tips, and I'll leave his link in the description below, and you guys can check it out and read for yourselves. He also has a video on it that I'll leave a link for as well. Again, I'm not going to touch too much on these things because I believe that these are small things. These are things that are going to get fixed. These are things that are going to get ironed out. The only reason I touched SMT was because there were a few people that asked me about it and wanted to know what the difference was. So for you people that are asking yourselves, hey, what is SMT all about? Why is it having a problem? Why are people having a problem with it or reporting an issue? I don't know. I'm not really having an issue for it. Maybe it's the games that I play, and if you play any of these games that I showed here, you're not going to have really an issue. You're really not going to have a performance gain or drop. However, in Cinebench, you definitely are. Obviously, that is because it's not going to be hyperthreading. Alright guys, so if there's anything else you guys want to know, or want me to benchmark, want me to test, let me know in the description below, or send me in the comments below, or send me a message. Send me a message on Facebook, write me anything on Facebook, or patreon.com. With that said, guys, this is going to be the end of our video. Thanks again for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, you know what to do. However, either way, hit that red button, subscribe, and I'm going to bring a lot better content for it. Thanks, guys, and take care.